I'm doing this for you guys.
Remember the first time playing Roblox with your friends, making memories with them, playing random games together, and just knowing that you're not alone in this blocky universe? But what if this friend of yours just disappears? In fact, when you take a look at the clips you had with them,
I have a friend. They just didn't play with me anymore. But it wasn't the person you're going to see soon.
they were nowhere to be found. What if someone you thought was your best friend was never real? A few months ago, I was sent an email from a subscriber. Yo Eric, I found this Roblox channel, I think you might...
It's Jimmy Gaming 58. This is what's left of his channel. Nothing at all. Just his subscribers. That's all that's left of his channel. Nothing. No content anymore. Just a blank page. That's all that's left of him. He's not here anymore. Not anymore.
interested in. Out of curiosity, I clicked on the link and found myself on a channel named Jimmy Gaming. The channel consists of 11 videos. On the surface, it appears to be normal Roblox videos, but upon a closer inspection at everything reveals some of the most unsettling videos I have ever seen. And it all starts on the first video. The video starts off with our player in a seemingly innocent fishing game. He walks around for a little bit, starts fishing, fails to catch his first fish, and then finally types his first message.
Do you ever hate your life sometimes?
He then starts fishing again, catches a fish, and then continues to type more messages. He explains that he wants to use this channel to talk about his life so far, moves to a new location, starts fishing even more, till the video cuts and then our player starts opening up to us.
A while ago my family moved, so I can't talk to my old friends as much.
He goes on to explain his separation between him and his friends, but right after he says something that catches me off guard.
They might as well be dead or something.
Okay, it's a weird choice of words, but he continues to talk about the past with his friends and his opinions on moving. But then he does it again.
Basically the same as being in a school classroom, but then all your friends are dead already.
At this point, the video becomes uncomfortable to watch. He continues comparing his situation to an empty classroom, the dead, and dying pigs. He then goes ahead to try to find a place to log out, but out of everywhere he could have logged out, he decides to do it in the middle of nowhere. And that's where the video ends.
Click here to make your very own monster on Adapted Mind, where monsters teach you math.
Man, just get me out.
Although nothing weird happens in the video, it's quite abnormal behavior for our player. The description of the video reads,
First video, nothing special. Things will get better, right?
The title and description both seem to go back to the player explaining to us how he hates moving and wants to be back home with his friends. This person just appears to be sad, which could explain why he chooses to log out in the middle of nowhere. He may just be in a bad mood. Although the way he compares his old friends as being dead is somewhat odd, but right now we don't know if this truly means anything. One thing I did notice was when the player first joined, the world was somewhat dark and rainy. When usually when you would join it would be sunny, so why doesn't it do the same for this player? I personally think the weather could be symbolic to the player's emotions. Movies and TV shows have used gloomy and rainy weathers to showcase the character's sad emotions. So in the end, this player is just a sad kid who misses his friends. But I had no idea that there was so much more this kid was hiding from us. The video starts off with a player in a forest. They write to us in chat.
I recorded some gameplay earlier, but the video got corrupted. I don't know why. I uploaded it to Drive anyways and put the link in the description if anyone could figure out why it isn't working.
In the description, they do put a Google Drive link that sends us a video, but we'll get back to that later because moments after writing his message, we get this. We get introduced to a character named Noctua. They talk for a little bit till Noctua asks if Jimmy wants to explore. He says yeah, and they both hop on a boat to explore the lake. Time passes until Noctua asks him where he found this game from. Jimmy responds and says it was a game he used to play with his old friends when they got bored. It's obvious he still misses his old friends in an attempt to recreate.
Does he? Well, he does. And also doesn't. He's just waiting for a new victim to make people go insane.
Pass. Out of the blue, he randomly writes,
Honestly, I miss them.
Then Noctua says, you have me. Then he pauses for a second before typing, yeah. They continue exploring until he says his mom is making him get off, and the video ends. Before we review this footage, what is in the Google Drive link? Well, if you paste it on a search bar, we're given a video of our player and Noctua in a dark environment. This obviously isn't the right video. He complains that the previous gameplay of him got corrupted, but this doesn't seem to match with what he was talking about. Instead, we get an 8-minute video of our player staring at Noctua. This video is in the loop because at 5 minutes and 12 seconds, he writes a few messages.
Do you ever wish you could turn back time? Speak to me. Why won't you answer me?
After that, the rest of the video is spent staring at Noctua. We have 2 videos to dissect, so in order to understand everything, we'll have to start with the YouTube video first. Let's start from the beginning of the video. We get introduced to Noctua. From the title of the video and the way they communicate, it's obvious this is a friend of theirs. But while they're talking to each other, there's something weird that happens. I'll play the clip for you and I want you to see if you could point out what I'm talking about.
Yep, he disappeared.
If you still didn't see it, I'll play it back. When Noctua gets on the boat, he just disappears. But when jumping off his seat, he reappears like nothing ever happened. It's a small detail and very strange nonetheless. No other occurrences happen in the video, but we can see our player continue to talk about his old friends and attempts to recreate those feelings. Even when Noctua tells him you have me, he pauses for a second before typing the words yeah. In fact, I'm not too sure if they're even friends. This 8-minute video is the strangest thing we've seen so far. Noctua doesn't even seem like they're a person in this video. Our player is obviously having a one-sided conversation with Noctua in an attempt to speak with them.
If his channel is corrupted and gone, then does that mean that now the footage is truly corrupted?
But for Noctua, they don't ever move, and this dark room they're in doesn't help us answer anything. Instead, we're left with more questions, but with questions are answers, and episode 3 might just give us that.
Let's go see
And the video ends. Before we review this footage,
What? It's gone too? No, what? No. 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 There's no way it's gone, bro.
What time is it now? 6 o'clock, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Have to walk exercise.
What is in the Google Drive link?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you paste it on a search bar, we're given a video of our player Noctua in a dark environment. This obviously isn't the right video. He complains that the previous gameplay of him got corrupted, but this doesn't seem to match with what he was talking about. Instead, we get an 8-minute video of our player staring at Noctua. This video is in the loop because at 5 minutes and 12 seconds, he writes a few messages.
Do you ever wish you could turn back time? Speak to me. Why won't you answer me?
After that, the rest of the video is spent staring at Noctua. We have 2 videos to dissect, so in order to understand everything, we'll have to start with the YouTube video first.
Of evidence.
Let's start from the beginning of the video. We get introduced to Noctua. From the title of the video and the way they communicate, it's obvious this is a friend of theirs. But while they're talking to each other, there's something
Doing this for you guys.
weird that happens. I'll play the clip for you and I want you to see if you could point out what I'm talking about. That's on the boat. No other occurrences happen in the video, but we can see our player continue to talk about his old friends and attempts to recreate those feelings. Even when Noctua tells him "you have me," he pauses for a second before typing the words "yeah." In fact, I'm not too sure if they're even friends. This 8-minute video is the strangest thing we've seen so far. Noctua doesn't even seem like they're a person in this video. Our player is obviously having a one-sided conversation with Noctua in an attempt to speak with them. But for Noctua, they don't ever move, and this dark room they're in doesn't help us answer anything. Instead, we're left with more questions, but with questions are answers, and episode 3 might just give us that.
Guys, you need to see episode 3.
Episode 3 is named New Car. It looks like our player is looking at a new car he bought and checking it out. He then types in chat.
Everyone kept saying people at new schools will be really nice.
He gets in the car and drives around for a bit while writing to us some more before Noctua finds him.
What's this?
Oh, I'm just thinking and
Guys, you see this username? I found it. It's this one. The exact same account. Same username. I'm risking this for you guys. Let's hope my channel just doesn't get deleted.
modifying the car for you. Let's go somewhere together.
They then start driving up a mountain, which is where Noctua asks how our player is doing, to which he responds with,
Honestly, I miss being helpful.
He continues ranting about his life while driving around, but then out of nowhere, Noctua says, "You're pretty good at driving." And a few seconds after, Noctua also replies with, "Thanks." He replies for our player, but they don't seem to notice or care, because right after they got out of the car, he complains that the view isn't as good as he thought it would be, so they planned on climbing a radio tower to get a better view. But moments before Jimmy reaches the top, we see this. We can just barely see something disappear at the bottom of the screen. From a more clear frame, we can just barely see something disappear at the bottom of the screen. From a more clear frame, we can see the thing that disappeared was the car that Noctua was driving. How do we know this isn't just a visual glitch messing with us? Well, if we really want to know, we'll have to finish the rest of the video. After a few minutes of looking at the scenery, they get bored and decide to play another game. Oddly, another game involving cars, which the first scene starts off with our player typing,
Do people make fun of your name?
Noctua?
No, like Matthew.
We find out that Noctua's name is Matthew, but then our player types, people just, I don't know. And then Matthew replies with, "This school sucks." The video cuts again with our player mentioning that he has a cool project partner, and as he's typing some more about his school activities, he loses Matthew. He then seems to stare at the truck for no apparent reason, gets in the car and starts driving before another cut happens. From there, he stumbles upon a town and decides to go into a donut shop, and as he's going inside, right in front of him is Matthew, suddenly appearing out of nowhere after disappearing just a few moments ago. Before he could react, Matthew says there's donuts here, and he goes off to go get some. As our player also gets his donut, Matthew suggests going to the city to go rob something. Our player agrees, and as they make their way to the city, we can see what seems to be a smoking car. He takes a look at it before ignoring it and continuing to drive around the city. But they both realize that nothing was open, so they decided to head back to the donut shop. Then the video cuts to them driving back, but something is wrong. Our player looks and sees that the donut shop is almost completely gone. And that's where we get a final message. I think there's something here. Where do I even start? With all of the things I pointed out, there was still so much more left unnoticed. Let's start off with Matthew's behavior. In this episode, he seems to really like talking for our player. Matthew compliments his driving, and then Matthew thanks himself for his own compliment. This could be his way of a joke, but I'm certain that this message wasn't a joke. Our player seems to be complaining about his school. In the beginning of the video, him saying he was told that people were going to be nice, then asking Matthew if people make fun of his name, could indicate people are picking on his name at school. Which is why he goes on to say people just, possibly continuing the sentence with something negative. Which would make sense why his next message says this school sucks. But he's not the one who says it, Matthew does. Matthew is not talking about school in general, he's saying this school sucks. It's very odd behavior, but that just brings us another issue. Where did Matthew wander off to? He disappears in the shipyard. Our player calls his name and he doesn't respond. But moments after, Matthew is right in front of him at a donut shop without mentioning where he went and why he didn't respond. Matthew is being weird. But to understand why, we have to move on to the next topic, the car smoking. Our player is looking at a smoking car, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. In this game, when you shoot enough bullets into a vehicle, it starts to break down. But that just brings us another issue. Who shot the car and why? From the first few scenes of the video, we can see that they're playing in a private server, so it has to be one of them. But who could it be? Well, if we look at the footage, it couldn't have been our player, since in this entire video, he never picks up a gun. Meaning, it had to have been Matthew. Some evidence backing this is when our player loses Matthew and goes to find him, we can barely see a truck also smoking while he drives past it. Matthew was probably the one who purposely broke all those cars. But if that's the case, why? Well, this seems to add on to his behavior with his previous actions. But that still doesn't explain why he does it. But right now, there's no way of knowing. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the real oddities, the stuff disappearing. 3 minutes and 37 seconds into the video, we see Noctua's car disappear. This is not normal, and this definitely isn't a quality issue. We can see the moment the car disappears. I think it has something to do with Matthew. Because in the clip around the same time Matthew disappears, our player goes to find him and we can see his car is also gone. This is the second time this happened, where I pointed it out in the second episode. Why do things keep disappearing, and why is it that every occurrence where something has disappeared is related to Matthew? The 2 times he drives something, it disappears. When Matthew sits down, he disappears. When Matthew goes inside a building, it disappears. Our player ends it off with something is here. Could this something be what's causing all of this? And why is it only happening to Matthew? Buckle up, because this is where things get dark. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe. And also, if you guys are interested in making YouTube videos, I have a Discord server dedicated just for that. The link is in the description. Now let's move on to episode 4. Episode 4 begins with our player driving back to base. He sees Matthew and Matthew types in chat,
Has anything happened to you yet? No, it could be trying to get under our skin though. It's like it's waiting to strike again soon. to eat us alive.
Again, our player continues to talk in an abnormal way, but we also have something else to focus on. It could be trying to get under our skin. They seem to believe there is something joining them without their knowledge, and from what he's describing in chat, it's there to hurt them. Matthew replies with, maybe during the night. They believe that this thing could be out right now, and when they realize it's nighttime, our player starts rushing to make fences. He orders Matthew to make the fence while he gets wood to build it. They begin doing so, and a few minutes later, he builds a roof for their house and wants to show Matthew his progress. He then starts to exit the house, but when he does so, he notices that the fence he asked Matthew to make and saw him making was gone. He looks at him upset before the video ends. Why would Matthew make a fence and then destroy it? Well, that's the thing, he didn't destroy it. At 9 minutes and 38 seconds, we can still see the fence is there. And for the rest of the video, Matthew is next to our player, never leaving his sight. And somehow, the fence is still gone. In the beginning of the video, they were mentioning this thing and how it's coming to get them. From what we've seen, it seems like that assumption was made because the donut shop disappeared. But what evidence is there that the donut shop being gone is an entity being in the game? But for that to make sense, we need to understand who Matthew is. And episode 5 perfectly captures that. Episode 5 begins differently compared to our other videos. Currently, we aren't seeing our player's POV. Seeing a white avatar, we can assume this is someone we don't know. But what exactly is happening? It seems to be staring at our player from a distance. We're never given an answer why, because we see our player go to get wood and we're given this clip. The video cuts from the entity to our player's POV. Not only that, let's take a look at both perspectives. Judging from where it's standing, we should technically see him somewhere around here from our player's POV. But for some reason, he's not there. He walks into the house and Matthew is inside. Our player starts putting more furniture and rebuilding some parts of the fence. He then writes to Matthew,
Are you mad at me that your car is gone? It's so easy. Just do what I tell you. You're just like Brandon even right now. He'd sit there and listen and not do anything like some statue you could just kick down. That's all they wanted. Nothing. I do the tiniest something and they hate me for not doing it right.
Why did you stop talking to them? You didn't even know you were moving yet. They sounded worried. Everyone you pushed. They sounded like they didn't even know what to say. That's not nothing.
Then the screen goes black, but not before one final message.
That's fear.
Let's pick this apart one by one, shall we? First, let's go over the conversation our player and Matthew seem to have. Our player gets upset that Matthew doesn't listen to what he told him to do. We can even see this in episode 4, the way he ordered Matthew around and got upset when he didn't complete it. That's all they wanted. Nothing. I do the
Try
time.
this one for me. I tried many times. I charged the whole night already. It still doesn't work.
How do I do it?
You go to Bluetooth, you find it.
To what tube?
Bluetooth. Or you search YouTube. How to connect. What? Very funny. Otherwise, we have to go to Janet.
We need the app.
The app doesn't work. They say it's the app and then connect to your phone first, then your app will work it. But it's not connected to my phone at all. So you YouTube it. I'll read this one. You have time. So we need to. It's not working. We need to go to warranty. Just send it back to Jafra. YouTube it. So easier. What it called? What it called is active. Jafra active.
I'm recording that.
Yeah. Are you recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, then do recording first. We do it later.
Use something and they hate me for not doing it right. Seems our player could be hinting towards an argument he had with his friends. Matthew's response says, "Say a lot. Why did you stop talking to them? You didn't even know you were moving yet." He stopped talking to his friends before he found out he was moving, which could mean something might have happened beforehand. He adds on to this saying he pushed them away when they tried talking to him and goes on to respond to his message saying, "I do the tiniest something isn't nothing, it's fear." Fear of what exactly? It couldn't have been fear of moving. He says he started separating himself before he even found out he was moving. Given our player's lack of response, we can tell what Matthew says has a lot of truth to it. Our player is scared of his past, which could explain why in the second episode he couldn't really explain why he didn't just play with his old friends. Because he left on bad terms. What happened in our player's past that he refuses to share? A more important question, who is Matthew? Oh, well, Matthew is our player's friend, right? But is he really? There's lots of times where he just straight up ignores his messages and only talks about himself. Is he a real life friend? A family member? Online friend? With such little information on who Matthew is, he can still point out our player's lies. And he knew our player pushed his friends away. This information will make sense later in the video. We also need to bring up what I pointed out in the beginning of the video. Something stares at our player and seconds after, he's no longer there. It just vanishes. Do you see where I'm going with this? At 3 minutes and 42 seconds, Matthew is blocking the doorway. Our player doesn't think much of it and just walks past him. But he doesn't walk past him. He just phases into him with absolutely no collisions at all. And yes, there is entity collisions in the game they're playing. All of this evidence seems to keep tracing back to the same thing. Is there an entity in their game? Are they being haunted? Or could it be that Matthew isn't real? We get introduced to a new character named Donnie Darko. He introduces his new friend to the game, but out of the blue, he writes to Donnie,
This game I found while being chased.
Like from your dog?
No, not that. Something keeps joining my games.
What?
It's going around lighting up shadows with flames.
A very weird conversation, but then the video cuts to our player exploring this new game we've never seen before. It looks to be some kind of spaceship. Some time passes before our player receives a message from Matthew.
Talk more.
Then Donnie writes,
Oh, hey, I'll be back in a bit. I have to feed my cats.
Then Matthew writes again,
Be more friendly.
with our player responding no, and after walking back to stare at Donnie, the video cuts. If you think we'd move on to the next episode, you would be wrong, because now we get a second POV.
Found out he also recorded a video too as well. Check it out if you want.
Joining a friend on Roblox, uploaded by Donnie's123. The video showcases the same thing we saw in episode 6, except there's something different. There was a part in episode 6 that I wanted to leave out for this moment. I'll play you 2 clips in different POVs, and I want you to notice what's off about it. In our player's POV, we can see Matthew, but he resembles a ghost, and for some reason,
No. Everything. All of the traces of Jimmy, all trace of Jimmy is gone. He's gone. He's probably dead. Just like his friends. Right? No.
in Donnie's POV, we can't see him. How is this even possible? This seems to go back to my theory on Matthew not being real. This theory would answer why people can't see him. It explains why everything that has disappeared in all the episodes were caused by Matthew. The fences and donut shop disappeared because it was made by a person who isn't real. If we look closely, the wood blocks that Matthew created disappeared. It wasn't just his fence. It was everything he altered. The car he drove disappeared because he doesn't exist. It's not possible for him to buy cars because he's not a real person. But if that's the case, why is it that our player is the only one who sees Matthew? And if it's confirmed that Matthew never existed, then that would mean this entire time, every episode we watched, our player talked to no one. He has been by himself this entire time. But that still leaves another question. Why is Matthew here? Why does Matthew exist to our player? There has to be a reason. With us entering into the last few episodes of the series, we'll finally be able to understand everything. The video starts with our player and Matthew staring at each other. They seem to be spying on Donnie. Again, Matthew is still transparent. They wait for Donnie to leave before going inside the control room. They check out any changes with the room before Donnie comes back.
Yo,
Hey,
what were you doing, bro? It's been an hour.
dealing with the core?
Hey, same here.
After talking for a bit, our player drops a fire extinguisher to Matthew, with Matthew obviously not picking it up. The next scene is them planning to refuel. They go to get oil with our player dropping some to Matthew, but again, Matthew never picks them up. It's a strange detail, but insignificant nonetheless. They then start talking more.
What's it like moving?
Our player pauses.
I don't know. You know, like when you wake up. Like right when you open your eyes and you're in between two worlds?
When you're still dreaming? Yeah, I've got a notebook to write down what happens there.
Then our player looks at Matthew. After a little more talking, they go outside to refuel, but something happens. I'll play the clip.
And I just can't wake up.
If we go to the Donnie channel, we can see a second video has been posted. Who is he? The video showcases the same. If we go to the Donnie channel, we can see a second video has been posted. Who is he? The video showcases the same thing we watched in episode 8, except in Donnie's POV, there's a few things to note here. When our player dropped the
It's corrupted. It's changed. What? Noctua. Okay, guys, I think I made a horrible mistake. There's going to be no trace of me.
Then when can we go?
recants to
Wait.
Matthew. From Donnie's perspective, it looked like items that were dropped for him. So he picks it up. Reminder, Donnie can't see Matthew because Matthew only exists to our player. We can also see Donnie get confused why our player keeps talking to no one. And he gets really confused why our player turns to stare at nothing. But from our player's POV, they were staring at Matthew. But the video doesn't end after something happens in space. In fact, right before they enter space, the video cuts to Donnie staring at our player slowly floating away in space. And then the video continues from where we ended in episode 8.
Are you good?
Again, they knew what to say, and you don't listen. No.
I always listen, man. What's up?
It's obvious our player is having a conversation with Matthew, but Donnie doesn't realize that because only our player can see the messages. Moving forward, the video cuts to Donnie leaving space and finding out that our player is still in the game. He calls out for him but doesn't get a response. He looks around and ultimately goes back to the control room where he finds our player, and the rest is what takes place.
I woke up.
Hey, where'd you go?
Our player freezes before writing.
Do you ever wish you could turn back time?
Do you know where an oak tree is?
No?
Neither do I. Let's go find one.
There's a lot of things to look over in this video, so I'll try to cover them all. Our player is spying on Donnie. We know this because when Donnie comes up, our player starts scrambling to hide. If we really understand the context of what's happening right now, things get really disturbing. Why is our player spying on Donnie? but were never given an answer. Our player seems to still believe of Matthew's existence, constantly talking to him and dropping items for him. There's also something I'd like to point out, which includes two scenes. The first one being our player staring at Matthew when Donnie writes a certain message in chat, and then our player joining a new game spawning in a dark environment. Donnie mentions his notebook being something he uses to write down his thoughts and dreams, and ironically, our player looks at Matthew right after. This scene could have more beneath the surface. Maybe this moment could be ironic because that's what Matthew is to our player, a notebook he uses to write his thoughts and feelings to, which could explain why we always see conversations about our player's feelings, and could also explain what is going on when our player respawns. We see the same dark environment in an earlier episode, but we were left unanswered. But this dark environment might symbolize our player's thoughts. What we're seeing right now is Jimmy's imagination, and I say this because the only other time we see our player is when Donnie finds him, and his first words are, "I woke up." The times we see our player in a black environment could be our player dreaming, and all of it being in their head. So that means Matthew is all a part of our player's head, an imagination he created to talk about his feelings. And if you still don't believe my theory, that's fine, because we still have one last video to watch. The video starts with our player staring at a boat. He continues doing this for another 3 minutes before typing out a message.
Do you ever wish you could have seen the future?
But instead of entering the message, he deletes it instead. He finally moves out of his spot to see Donnie. He asks him if he found an oak tree, to which Donnie says no. So he checks around the dockyard only for him to go inside the house. And there he sees Matthew standing right in front of him. They stare at each other before our player types the following message.
Dear friend, I can be better this time. Goodbye.
And after typing that message, Matthew slowly fades away. Our player then goes outside to see Donnie on a boat. He pauses for a bit before typing, "Oh." It looks like our player is feeling a sense of nostalgia, given that this was the exact same game where we first saw Matthew. Moving forward, Donnie asks Jimmy if he wants to go exploring to find an oak tree. Our player says okay, and they both ride off to go exploring before the video ends. This video showcases Matthew leaving for good. When our player finds Matthew in that house, he's barely visible. And it makes sense because Matthew doesn't exist. But why does he slowly fade away? We notice a change in Matthew once we are introduced to Donnie. These first 5 episodes, Matthew is fully visible and was always active with whatever our player had going on. But once Donnie joined, Matthew became transparent, almost like he was slowly fading away. When our player sent that message and saw Matthew was gone, he was gone for good. But why does he leave? Because of Donnie. In our player's first episode, he complained about missing his old friends and how he had trouble making friends in school. But after meeting Donnie, our player finally shows signs of happiness in himself. That's why before Donnie was introduced, Matthew would always talk to our player with intentions of making him feel better. Because Matthew was just someone our player created to comfort him during these times. Also, when searching Matthew's name on Roblox, we can see that it doesn't exist. And his name, Noctua. What exactly does it mean? Well, a few weeks ago, I got curious and that's when I searched it up and found this. From the Latin word Noctua, meaning none, nothing, or the number 0. It was hinted in Matthew's name. It was just under our nose the entire time. But in the end, Jimmy finally got his happy ending. But then I also remember this one clip in episode Nothing, where we get a POV of someone spying on Jimmy. It was never hinted nor mentioned who this character is. But a more important question is, how does this footage even exist? This minor clip brings in a lot more questions and puts a big stop to everything I've theorized. But unfortunately, there's just some things I can't answer. But hey, what's a good mystery without an unanswered question?
Oh no. Yep, I'm doomed. I'm doomed. I'm doomed.
You done?
No, I'm doomed, bro. I literally just sent a friend request to someone who doesn't exist and will literally delete all trace of me. But then, what's this? Wait. No. He deleted all trace of Noctua and left these two videos which still exist and have the same titles. And Noctua's in Minecraft too? Noctua. Guys, I risked it for you guys. I risked it. But you see, he ain't real. He ain't real.
Right in front of him. They stare at each other before our player types the following message.
Dear friend, I can be better this time. Goodbye.
And after typing that message, Matthew slowly fades away. All of this evidence seems to keep tracing back to the same thing. Is there an entity in their game? Are they being haunted? Or could it be that Matthew isn't real?
Dầu gội Olive với dầu Olive nguyên chất.
I hate these.
Love your skin, love your skin,
Why?
Titaness Tiamat. The last time we saw this kaiju, she was getting absolutely obliterated by Godzilla. But did you happen to know about Tiamat's young one, Lahamu? If not, we actually played a game on the Kaiju Cappy channel, and it actually showed us at the end, a version of them. But today, we're going to be reacting to a sad sort of video about Tiamat and Lahamu. I'm just trying to be happy, bro. Let's jump in here. Hey, don't worry. Whatever happens, we're going to make it happy, all right? It's Happy Cappy today. Shout out to Val Animation. It's a two-parter. The first